Standardized testing. 2 words that students fear the most. Standardized testing is a big component in the educational world. It tells how a student is doing. It tells how a teacher is teaching the material. And it tells if the student is truly grasping the material. So I have a question. How do the standardized tests impact students? I found 3 articles that help answer this question. One of the articles that I found was Parents' Perception on Testing by Osborne. Osborne states that researchers have found that test anxiety starts as early as kindergarten. Now, this may be surprising to some of us because kindergarten is fairly an easy grade. However, that's not the case. Students may freak out because they may not know their letters, or they may not know their addition facts or subtraction facts, or even their numbers. I've had a student, and he did not know his lowercase b or d. So as a teacher, I thought about how my teachers taught me, and I learned that B has a belly and D has a diaper. So I told that student that, and it really helped him. So whenever I was able to see the progress that he made on his letters, and when he got to the lowercase b or d, he was able to tell me which one it was. So we as teachers need to have certain test strategies to help our students and just create that testing environment for them. I found another article by McQueen, and it was the impact on national testing for literacy and numeracy. And it stated that teachers have seen that test anxiety can also cause self-esteem issues. Our students want to impress us whenever they take tests. They want to show that they truly know the material. And if they have stress when taking a test, they're not able to perform to the best of their ability. Therefore, their self-esteem may go down. I had a student now that he does great when we do whole group instruction and even small group instruction. But as soon as he takes the test, he freaks out. And that has really shown in his test scores. And it's really lowered his self-esteem because he's made straight A's up until now. But I found that even in 3rd grade, they're starting to have more and more test anxiety because there's been a lot of pressure on them. So I've tried to find ways to help my students, and this shows that finding ways to help these students, even whenever they have standardized testing, whether that is different techniques to help them in a stressful situation, or to give them materials that will help them, or easy ways, songs, however, to help them remember these materials can help with their self-esteem. I also found a 3rd article, and this one was more of a personal article, and it was by an author named Landry. And he did a study on students after they take tests. And he connected these students' impacts based on based on his own experience. And this author found that when they were a teacher, they had a student that forgot a pencil. And the student was freaking out because they had to take their test at that time on paper instead of computer. And they thought, well, I don't have the right pencils, so I'm not going to do well on my test. But instead of Landry telling them, oh, well, the teacher decided to give the student one of their pencils, one of their number 2 pencils. And this just shows the type of impact that this teacher may have had on that student. That student was freaking out. However, the teacher was being very calm. And I know that in certain situations, I freak out too, and I have test anxiety myself. So this even helps me not only know that, it can not only help me, even as a teacher, but it can also help my students. I can know how to be a calming teacher and how just being calm can help these students, have good self-esteem and be able to perform to their best ability. The author also stated about a time that a student was a bit late to take their test. And this student was freaking out because they didn't think that they were going to have enough time to take their test. However, the same author that was the teacher at the time told the student that it's okay and just to remember about what they have learned so far and that they'll be fine. And this also helps me know that in my classroom, I need to be able to be the calming person and just tell my students, breathe. It's going to be okay. You know it. And just being an encouragement really helps students. I've found that, we shouldn't go always negative whenever a student is struggling with tests. We need to pick out the positive, and that's really going to help them want to do better. Even if a student may always fail a test, we still need to pick out the positive. And so I have came up with some helpful tips whenever it comes to that to help with those calming methods. And one thing that I've found is a concept folder. This concept folder is just a mini folder that has the posters and the anchor charts, and it's just a small version of that they can keep in this folder and refer to any time that they don't remember something. Now, of course, I don't let them use it on like the ACAP or STAR, but they're able to use it in other situations, like whenever they're doing their centers. If they're confused on what main idea is and they totally forget, I allow them to get that concept folder out. And I've seen, especially last year with the COVID kids, because I had the COVID class last year, and they really struggled with test taking skills and test anxiety. And I told them, I said, if you keep using this, then you're going to do well on these type of tests. And when they were taking the STAR, I could see them just stop and think about that concept folder because I would give them many posters that were relatable pictures to help them remember. For instance, with main idea, I gave them a poster that had a picture of an ice cream cone. And I said, the ice cream cone, the cone part is the main idea. And the flavors help make that main idea better. It helps make that cone better. And so I gave them 3 different flavors and I told them that's the 3 supporting details. And it really helps them remember just small little things. I've also found that songs help them. And anytime they take their test, they think about those. And I've even asked my students, I've said, does this help you not be so stressed out? And they said yes. And so to conclude my discussion, I have found that test anxiety is real, especially in younger students, because we put a ton of pressure on them. With the ACAP and STAR test, it's a lot of pressure for a kindergartner, the first, second, third, all the way up to even 12th grade. It's a lot of pressure for students. And so we as teachers need to be educated on how to help those students in those certain situations because they don't need to be stressed. They need to perform to the best of their ability. So if we as teachers can find ways to help those students cope with those types of fears, then I think we will see a positive effect on our students when testing instead of a negative effect.